All right, welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. Now, today is supposed to be the final day of a truce between Israel and Hamas. Both sides agreeing to a ceasefire last week. Hamas releasing 50 Israeli hostages, some hostages from other countries as well. Israel releasing 150 Palestinian prisoners during this 4-day truce. I'm seeing some reports that there may be an agreement on extending that ceasefire for a couple more days. Let's try and find out the latest on what happened over the last few days and what could happen from here. We now go to a former military reporter and a former Montrealer who's just south of Tel Aviv. Returns to the program, has joined us a couple of times. Thanks very much for coming onto the show.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Well, first things first. Let's tell us about the last few days here, the last 4 days. And if everything went according to plan, the release of hostages, the exchange for prisoners, tell us about what we saw over the last few days.
So, like you said, today is the last day of a 4-day ceasefire between Israel, Hamas, and other terror groups in the Gaza Strip. We have to remember that the Gaza Strip might be run by Hamas, but you also have Palestinian Islamic Jihad in there as well, which is also holding hostages, Israeli hostages, and other smaller terror groups as well. But today, and literally just a few moments ago, it's been announced that Qatar successfully negotiated an extension of the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas by another 2 days. And that means another 10 more Israeli hostages will be released per day. So tomorrow and Wednesday, we'll see another 20 hostages released and another 30 Palestinian prisoners to be freed. So that's good news. On the other hand, there's always bad news. Hamas has not always lived up to its side of the agreement, accusing Israel of not living up to its side of the agreement. Hamas, I think it was on the second day, did not release mothers with the children. There was one case where Hila Rotem, a teenager who had been abducted by Hamas on October 7th and had been with her mother the entire time, was released without her. Family members told the media that she was split from her mother 2 days before being released. And so Hila Rotem's mother is still in Gaza. And today, Hamas tried as well to not put any mothers on a list of 11 hostages being freed. In the end, there's going to be 9 children released and 2 mothers instead of 2 elderly women. So that's what's happening on the hostages side. Hamas has accused Israel of not holding up its part to the agreement by not releasing Palestinian prisoners with seniority, those who have been in prison for a very long time. But Israel is still releasing prisoners. Israel's releasing a lot of Palestinian children who have been in administrative detention, meaning they have not been charged with any crime. They've just been placed in prison, for example, for throwing Molotov cocktails, for throwing rocks and things like that. So the two sides are being mediated. They're not, sitting across the table from each other. Qatar and Egypt are heavily involved in it. And so hopefully we'll see, more additional days after Wednesday.
For Israel, the need to get the hostages back. Do you think this, because a lot of people would argue you're getting the hostages back, but you are allowing Hamas to regroup, and perhaps the consequences will be even worse. What is your take on this deal and what Israel is doing here for to have this ceasefire continue?
I'm very torn. On the one hand, as a Israeli, as a mother, and just as a human being, I think that every hostage's life is paramount. And Israel has to do everything it can to get their citizens back. I mean, we have children. There's a 10-month-old baby that's being held by Hamas, 10-month-old. The group has had 4 days to release that baby along with his toddler brother and mother, and they haven't. So we have to try as much as we can, as hard as we can to get them released. On the other hand, it is definitely giving Hamas the ability to regroup, to maybe even move the hostages from where they were, and to rearm, because the fuel that's coming into Gaza, while it's aimed for the civilian population of Gaza. There have been reports of Hamas blockades, trying to stop the aid from going to Gazan civilians, but just to take it for themselves. So we have to be very wary. On the other hand, we have to get these civilians back. And again, I'm talking civilians, right? We have a lot of soldiers also who have been abducted, but soldiers have always, unfortunately, been a legitimate target. And we have to get our civilians out first. We have to get the babies, the mothers, the elderly men as well, men in their 80s, those who have critical health problems. We need to do as much as we can to get them out.
A month and a half later, what is the population thinking about this conflict and continuing a war and making this a more prolonged effort long term?
I think everyone is still very united behind the IDF. And I think that the Israeli population understands it's going to be a very long time. Many people are still in the reserves. We have a family member who's been called up, and he's now on the northern front. And his wife, is at home with two daughters, having to handle it by herself. But she's like, "This is for my country." Mm-hmm. And her husband says, "This is for my country." And everybody that we know has been called up is that this is for our country. This is for our survival. And I have to say, I haven't seen such unity in a very long time in Israel.
We do have to leave it there. I want to thank you for coming back on with us this morning and giving us a look at what's happening with the latest. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.